I am 91 years old. My name is Eduardo, and I left the Philippines in 1968 with $200 in my pocket and a dream that would cost me everything that truly mattered. I grew up in a small barrio outside Manila where we had nothing by American standards, no running water, no electricity, just a simple life. My father was a fisherman who worked from dawn until his hands bled. My mother sold vegetables at the local market, her face weathered by the sun and hardship. We ate rice and dried fish most days, sometimes just rice when times were especially hard. But we had something I didn't understand the value of back then. We had each other, we had time, and we had connection. I was the smart one in the family, top of my class, and I got a scholarship to study finance at the university in Manila. That's when everything changed. That's when I learned the most dangerous lesson of my life, that poverty was something shameful to escape from, not something that had taught me everything about what truly matters in this world. In 1968, an American bank made me an offer that seemed like a miracle at the time. It was an entry-level position in their Chicago office, but the salary was more money than my father made in 5 years of breaking his back on fishing boats. I remember the night I told my parents about the opportunity, sitting in our small house with the kerosene lamp flickering between us. My mother held my face in her weathered hands, and I could see tears forming in her eyes. "Eddie," she said, using my childhood nickname, "America is so far away. When will we see you again?" I told her what every foolish young man tells himself when he's chasing a dream. Just 5 years, Nanny, that's all I need. I promised I'd save money, send remittances back home, and then return rich enough that our family would never struggle again. I believed it when I said it. She wanted to believe it too. But deep down, I think we both knew the truth that neither of us wanted to speak out loud. 5 years turned into 10 years without me even noticing. 10 years became 20, and 20 somehow stretched into 53 years of broken promises and justified absences. My mother died in 1979, and I was working as a senior analyst at a major insurance company in Chicago when I got the telegram on a Tuesday morning. She'd had a massive stroke and asked for me at the end, calling my name from her hospital bed in Manila. I couldn't go to the funeral. That's what I told myself anyway. The truth is, I chose not to go. I had a major presentation that week, a critical pitch to a Fortune 500 client about a new portfolio strategy our firm had developed. My boss pulled me aside and said, "Eddie, I'm truly sorry for your loss, but this deal is worth $3 million to the company. We need you here." So I stayed. I gave that presentation with my mother barely cold in the ground. We got the deal, and they gave me a bonus check for $15,000. I sent $10,000 of that bonus to my family in the Philippines to help pay for the funeral expenses and support my siblings. Blood money, that's what it was, though I didn't let myself think of it that way at the time. I told myself I was being responsible, that I was honoring my mother by helping the family financially. But you want to know what $15,000 feels like when you trade it for your mother's last words? It feels like 30 pieces of silver. It feels like selling your soul for a number in a bank account. The money arrived in Manila 3 days after they buried her in the cemetery next to the church where she'd prayed every Sunday of her life. My sister wrote me a letter telling me that our mother had been asking for me every day for 2 weeks before she died, asking when Eddie was coming home, asking if I'd received her letters, asking if I still remembered her. That letter is in a box somewhere in my house, and I've never been able to read it a second time. But I told myself I was doing the right thing because that's what you do when you've made a terrible choice. You justify it. I convinced myself I was building a career, creating financial security, constructing a future that would somehow make up for the present I was sacrificing. By 1985, I had climbed the corporate ladder to become a vice president at a major financial institution. I had the corner office with a view of Lake Michigan, a six-figure salary that seemed astronomical, a pension plan that promised security, and a 401k that was growing steadily. I had health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, life insurance, insurance against every possible catastrophe except the one that was actually happening, which was the slow death of my soul. I married an American woman named Linda, a good woman who deserved better than what I gave her. We had 2 children, Michael and Sarah, beautiful kids who would grow up barely knowing their father. This was the American dream, exactly as advertised. Here's what nobody tells you about success in the finance and banking industry. The more money you make, the more money you need to make to feel successful. The higher you climb up the corporate ladder, the more hours you're expected to work. The better your title becomes, the less you belong to yourself, and the more you belong to the institution. I was working 70, sometimes 80 hours a week, regularly pulling all-nighters during quarterly closings. Weekends were spent at the office reviewing investment portfolios and preparing reports. Holidays meant working from home with my laptop open, constantly taking calls about market fluctuations and client concerns. Family vacations, when we took them, were interrupted by urgent conference calls and emergency meetings that somehow always seemed to happen at the worst possible times. I told myself this was temporary, that once I reached the next level or closed the next big deal, I could slow down and be more present. My son Michael spoke his first words, and I wasn't there to hear them. I was at a banking conference in New York discussing new lending strategies. My daughter Sarah took her first steps, and I missed it because I was negotiating an insurance policy merger that would boost the company's quarterly numbers. Their school plays, soccer games, piano recitals, birthday parties, parent-teacher conferences, I missed most of them, showing up late to the ones I managed to attend at all, usually still distracted and checking my pager for urgent messages from the office. But I told myself I was being a good father by providing for them financially. I was paying for private schools with excellent test scores and college preparatory programs. I was building substantial college funds that would ensure they could attend any university they wanted. I was setting up trust accounts that would give them financial security long after I was gone. I was securing their financial future, and I convinced myself that money was the same thing as love. My father died in 1992, and I finally went back to the Philippines for his funeral, my first trip home in 24 years. When I got off the plane in Manila, the humidity hit me like a wall of memories, but everything else felt foreign and strange. The city had grown and changed beyond recognition, with skyscrapers where there used to be empty lots and shopping malls where I remembered small family stores. I didn't recognize my own siblings at first. They had aged into people I barely knew. My nieces and nephews, some of them adults with children of their own, called me Tito Eddie from America, with a formal politeness that made it clear I was a stranger to them, a legendary figure who existed more in stories than in reality, because that's exactly what I was, a stranger who sent money but never sent himself. I stood at my father's casket, and I realized I had spent 24 years sending remittances but never sending the one thing that mattered, which was my presence, my time, myself. I stayed in the Philippines for exactly 1 week after my father's funeral, and then I flew back to Chicago for a critical board meeting about insurance premium adjustments and market positioning strategies. The meeting lasted 2 hours, and I honestly can't remember a single thing that was decided, But I remember my sister's face when I told her I had to leave, the way her expression closed off, the way she simply nodded and said she understood, even though we both knew she didn't understand and she never would. Here's what they don't tell you about working in finance and banking. You start measuring everything in money, converting the entire world into dollars and cents and profit margins. Time becomes money, so spending time with family feels like a bad investment. Love becomes money, something you express through deposits and wire transfers. Memories become money, experiences you can't justify because they don't show a return on investment. You become a human calculator, constantly running cost-benefit analyses on your own life. I justified missing my daughter Sarah's high school graduation because I was negotiating a merger that would secure her inheritance, as if money in a trust fund could replace the memory of watching her walk across that stage. I justified missing my son Michael's wedding because I was closing a major deal with an international client that would pad his trust fund significantly, as if he needed more money instead of needing his father standing next to him on the most important day of his life. Every absence, every missed moment, every broken promise had a justification attached to it, a financial reason that made sense in my head but would later reveal itself as the elaborate lie it always was. I retired at 68 after 42 years in the banking and finance industry. I had a full pension that would pay me generously for the rest of my life. I had an excellent 401k that I'd maximized every year. I had an investment portfolio worth $3.2 million, diversified across stocks, bonds, and real estate. Linda left me 3 years after I retired, which surprised me even though it shouldn't have. "Eddie," she said on the day she moved out, her voice quiet and tired, "you were never really here. Even when you were physically home, you were at the office in your head, thinking about deals and clients and markets." She was absolutely right, and I had no defense to offer because the evidence was overwhelming. I had spent 40 years married to a woman I never truly knew, never fully saw, never completely heard, because I was married to my career, wedded to my ambition, devoted to the institution that paid my salary. We had lived in the same house for decades, but existed in different worlds, ships passing in the night while I worked late and traveled constantly, and prioritized everything except the person who had committed her life to me. She didn't ask for any of my money in the divorce, which somehow made it worse. My children are polite to me now, which is somehow more painful than if they were angry. They call on Father's Day with brief, cordial conversations that feel rehearsed. They visit on Christmas, staying for a few hours before making excuses about other obligations and early flights. But we're not close, not in any real way, because how can you be close to someone who was never truly there? I wasn't there for Michael's nightmares when he was 7, or for Sarah's heartbreak when she was 16, or for the 1,000 small moments that build the architecture of a relationship. They don't need my money anymore. Michael is a successful lawyer in Boston, and Sarah is a respected doctor in Seattle. Both of them are wealthy by any reasonable standard. Both of them are accomplished in their fields. And both of them learned from my example exactly the wrong lesson. They learned how to choose career over connection, how to prioritize achievement over presence. I'm 91 years old now, and I sit alone in my paid-off house in Florida, looking at investment portfolio statements on my computer screen, watching numbers grow that have no meaning anymore. I would give every single dollar, every stock, every bond, every piece of real estate for one more day with my mother, one more morning sitting in our small kitchen in the barrio eating rice and dried fish while she told me stories about her childhood. I would liquidate everything for one more afternoon with my father, helping him mend his fishing nets while he taught me about patience and respect and the dignity of hard work. I would trade the entire $3.2 million for one more evening swimming in the ocean with my childhood friends, those boys whose names I can still remember but whose faces have faded from my memory after 53 years of absence. The bank I worked for 42 years doesn't exist anymore. It was merged with another corporation in 2008, absorbed into a larger entity. Nobody remembers the deals I closed or the presentations I gave or the strategies I developed. The insurance policies I sold helped make shareholders wealthy while ordinary families went bankrupt paying premiums they couldn't afford during medical emergencies and economic downturns. I spent my entire adult life accumulating wealth in bank accounts and investment portfolios, building financial security and planning for a comfortable retirement, and I'm dying bankrupt in the things that actually matter: love, connection, presence, memory, relationship. I have money, but I'm poor in the currency that counts. I have security, but I'm desperately vulnerable to the loneliness that fills every room of this expensive, empty house. I achieved the American dream exactly as it was advertised to me in 1968, and it turns out the dream was a carefully constructed nightmare that cost me everything real, while giving me things that were always hollow and temporary and ultimately meaningless. Success, as it turns out, can be the most expensive failure of all. So here's what I need you to understand, what I'm begging you to hear before you make the same catastrophic mistakes I made. Your career in banking, in finance, in insurance, in whatever corporate ladder you're currently climbing with such determination and sacrifice, it doesn't love you. It will never love you. It cannot love you because it's an institution, not a person, and institutions are incapable of love or loyalty or gratitude. It will replace you before your desk chair gets cold, before your business cards are even removed from the holder, before your nameplate is taken off your office door. That promotion you're killing yourself to achieve, working 80-hour weeks and missing your children's bedtimes, that salary increase you're sacrificing your marriage for, telling your spouse that things will get better once you reach the next level, that corner office you believe will finally make you feel successful and validated and worthy, it's a trap. It's the same trap that caught me. I'm not saying don't work hard. I'm not saying don't build a career or provide for your family or pursue professional success. I'm saying don't confuse providing money with providing presence. Don't confuse building an investment portfolio with building a life. Don't confuse financial security, which is important but limited, with actual security, which comes from being deeply connected to the people you love and who love you. Your children won't remember the size of their college fund when they're adults with children of their own. They'll remember whether you were there at their soccer games, whether you helped with their homework, whether you listened to their fears and dreams and everyday stories. Your spouse won't treasure the expensive vacations you took while distracted by work emails. They'll treasure the quiet Sunday mornings when you were fully present, actually seeing them, actually hearing them, actually being there in body and spirit and attention. Presence is the only gift that truly matters, and it's the one thing your career can never give you more of. Here's my 3-part challenge to you. Hard-won wisdom from a man who learned everything the most painful way possible. Number 1, call home today. Not tomorrow, not next week when things slow down at work, not next month after the big project is finished. Today, right now. Call your parents if they're still alive. Call your siblings. Call your old friends from childhood, not to send money, not to check a box on your to-do list, not to fulfill an obligation. Call to actually talk, to really listen, to be genuinely present in the conversation. My mother waited 11 years for me to come home from America. She waited patiently, hopefully, believing my promises that I'd return soon. She died waiting. calling my name from a hospital bed while I was giving a PowerPoint presentation about portfolio diversification strategies to executives who forgot my name within a year. Don't make your mother wait. Don't let work become the excuse for absence. The phone call takes 10 minutes, but the regret lasts forever. Number 2, go to the thing, whatever the thing is in your life right now. Your child's piano recital, even if it's inconvenient and you have an early meeting the next morning. Your niece's birthday party, even if it means leaving work early and disappointing your boss. Your friend's barbecue, even if you're tired and would rather stay home. The banking conference will happen without you. There will be other conferences, other networking opportunities, other chances to impress clients and colleagues. The insurance seminar can wait. There will be more seminars, more continuing education credits, more professional development opportunities. But your daughter's 8th birthday happens exactly once in the history of the universe. She will be 8 years old for 1 year, and then that year is gone forever, irretrievable, lost to time. And she won't remember the balance in her college savings account when she's 30 years old with children of her own. She'll remember whether her father was there at her birthday party. Number 3, and this is perhaps the most important thing I can tell you, remember where you came from. I spent 53 years trying to escape poverty, running away from the barrio, ashamed of the simple life my parents lived, desperate to prove I was sophisticated and successful and American. And I didn't realize until I was 91 years old, sitting alone in an expensive house surrounded by investment statements and bank records, that the barrio I grew up in had more real wealth than any bank I ever worked for. We had each other. We had time to sit together and talk and laugh and share meals. We had connection and community and people who knew our names and our stories and our families. We were rich in the things that actually matter: love, presence, relationship, belonging. And I traded it all for numbers in an account, for a balance that grows steadily while meaning absolutely nothing. I gave up everything real for something completely empty, and I can never get those years back. The American dream promised me everything, and it delivered exactly what it promised: money, status, security, success, achievement, recognition, but it didn't tell me the cost. It didn't include that information in the offer letter I received in 1968. It didn't explain that I would wake up at 91 years old, wealthy beyond what my father could have imagined, and desperately, catastrophically poor in everything that matters. Don't be me. Don't make this trade. Don't sacrifice your life for a retirement account that you might not live to enjoy. Don't trade your mother's last words for a presentation. Don't trade your children's childhood for a promotion you'll barely remember 10 years later. The bank will forget you exist within weeks of your retirement party. The insurance company will replace you with someone younger and cheaper before your nameplate is removed from the office door. But your family will remember whether you showed up for them. They'll remember whether you were present or absent during the moments that mattered to them.